so I started to look around at capabilities of different networks. And at the time, ICP was still pre Genesis, but it did make some certain promises. And two promises they made was number one, everything could be on chain. So whatever it is you wanted to build, you could deploy it not to AWS, not to Google Cloud, but to ICP. And the second thing was that they were using this thing called chain key technology. And the promise there was that you didn't have to use private keys in the same way, that the private keys were managed by the network itself. And you take these two things together and you can basically, like, I imagined at that time that, oh, bingo, I could build an all on chain wallet that users could sign into the same way that they sign into Binance or Coinbase or some other web application. And you don't have to manage the seed phrase. And eventually, we would take all of that software and deploy it as a DAO.
Okay, Dan, so you built the first decentralized cloud wallet on ICP, which I believe is a big step towards a more interoperable Web3. So would you like to tell us a bit about how you got this incredible idea and also how you then turned it into reality?
Yeah, great. So it started some years ago when I became a degen on ETH and then Solana, and of course downloaded MetaMask, downloaded Phantom, started playing around, trading tokens, buying ETH names, and then starting to swap in the wallet. And I realized within the in wallet swap that I was charged a fee, and I was okay with the fee because there's a lot of convenience. I'm not going to go to a dozen different dexes to see where I'll get the best price for my swap. So I'm fine with that. But the interesting thing was that it that fee was getting paid out to the wallet team. And in the case of MetaMask, the company that builds MetaMask, Consensus Software, they've made $300 million in swap fee revenue. And this, of course, is as I learned, the business model for wallets is these in-wallet swaps. And so I started to wonder, well, can it be different? Can we create a DAO around this? Can a DAO be responsible for creating the wallet, managing the wallet, uh, evolving the wallet as new standards come in, making decisions on revenue, on treasury, and really building this in a decentralized way, not centralized on the corporation that builds and maintains the wallet. So that was the idea. It was just a question in my mind, and uh, so I started to look around at capabilities of different networks. And at the time, ICP was still pre-Genesis, but it did uh, make some certain promises. And two promises they made was number one, everything could be on chain. So whatever it is you wanted to build, you could deploy it not to AWS, not to Google Cloud, but to ICP. And the second thing was that they were using this thing called chain key technology. And the promise there was that you didn't have to uh, use private keys in the same way, that the private keys were managed by the network itself. And you take these two things together and you can basically, like, I imagined at that time that, oh, bingo, I could build an all on chain wallet that users could sign into the same way that they sign into Binance or Coinbase or some other web application through username, password, sign in with social, sign in however you want, and and you don't have to manage the seed phrase because that private key is managed by the network itself. And eventually, we would take all of that software and deploy it as a DAO, give out tokens, distribute them in a way that now token holders, stakeholders are able to govern the evolution of this system. And all of the swap fee revenue goes to that DAO. And the DAO will be able to decide where to allocate this budget. And so that's where the idea was born, why it was born. That was 3.5 years ago. And I put a quick demo together. I showed it to Polychain, Tomahawk, a few other venture investors, and they funded me to build out this project and see if we could make the first decentralized business model of any Web3 wallet. And now, 3.5 years later, we are in the midst of deploying this as a DAO and achieving on that vision. We've already processed about $90,000 in volume, and the feature only went live some weeks ago. So already a lot of traction. We've been providing identities for 150,000, 200,000 users for the last few years in the ICP ecosystem, and there's of course tons of room to grow. So yeah, we're very excited about all that.
That's great. Thanks, you, Dan. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, and so we're talking about like decentralizing a wallet and giving the opportunity to the users to have a say on the development on the wallet, and that is great. And on the user's experience perspective, what do you think are the advantages of using NFID instead of other wallets on the market?
So um, I think people recognize some people recognize what some of the issues are of today's wallets, and if we just look at how much money people have lost, it's like 20% of all Bitcoin has been lost because they're using current generation wallets. So the problem is that you have a single point of failure, that you have this recovery phrase, and if you lose it or if you give it away, you're just completely screwed. And a lot of people have lost that recovery phrase because password hygiene just isn't that great worldwide. So, like that is the big problem, is this recovery phrase. And uh, when it comes to the user experience, of course, there's a certain amount of anxiety introduced when you have to save that recovery phrase or what to do with it, how to save it. Uh, but then also just like a knowledge gap in what do you do when you get a new device. So say you have Chrome on your desktop, and maybe you want to switch to Brave. So how do you do that now? How do you bring your wallet? Of course, you have to import your recovery phrase. Or when you want to go mobile. You want to download the mobile app. So how do you get your wallet on your mobile app? Of course, the answer is you import your recovery phrase. Or if you lose your computer or if you lose your phone, you get a new device. How do you recover your wallet? Well, it's this recovery phrase. So it's extremely important. Uh, the difference with NFID wallet is that we call it a decentralized cloud wallet because it's a wallet that you access the same way that you access any web application through a browser, through a username password, through sign in with Google. So you don't need the recovery phrase. You can sign in with Google. You can, uh, if self-sovereign mode, which is effectively two-factor authentication, if that's enabled, you can use passkeys. You can use the Touch ID on your computer or phone, Face ID on your phone to authenticate you to the wallet, and you don't need the recovery phrase to import from one device to another. So as far as the experience is concerned, it's effectively the same when you're using the wallet. You send a token, you receive, you swap within the wallet, but it's the access that's different. You don't have to worry about this recovery phrase. You just use a passkey, your biometric authentication, to authenticate you, whether you're on Chrome or Safari on desktop or on your phone.
Okay. So yeah, basically you are simplifying the user experience and also allowing people to not having to worry too much about the seed phrase because that's actually a pretty complicated thing for many new users, and that's why most people actually leave their assets on an exchange. So your product could be like a good compromise in between. And why did you choose to build NFID on ICP instead of other chains?
Yeah. So for exactly the two reasons I mentioned initially, number one is uh, ultimately we wanted to build a wallet that people can control and ultimately that people can benefit from. It's making revenue. So right now, how do you benefit from MetaMask's revenue? Well, as a user, you can't. Uh, you have to be a shareholder of Consensus Software Inc., and it's not so easy to be a shareholder. It's a private company. If it were public, then maybe as a U.S. Resident, you might have access to the ability to buy the stock, but it's not even public, so that can't happen. And the stock would need to be available internationally, which also is just a big burden. So you can't benefit as a user. Uh, And Consensus Software Inc. does benefit greatly from MetaMask being controlled by them. How do you help stakeholders, not shareholders, benefit from a successful wallet? Well, the whole thing has to be governed by a DAO. And if the whole thing is governed by a DAO, it means that the number one requirement is the whole wallet is on chain. So that what network could we have chosen where the entire wallet is on chain? At the moment, it's only ICP that we can do this. But then there's the second requirement, which is okay, I believe in a multi-chain network or a multi-chain future. Uh, Polychain is our biggest investor, and that is also their thesis: is that the future is poly chains. It's many chains, and that's our pitch. We believe the same thing. So, how do you deploy a wallet entirely to one network that can store tokens on any network? Well, technically, it means that the wallet has to, or the network has to be capable of generating signatures for all these other networks. And again, this is where ICP shines. Its chain key technology allows a smart contract like NFID wallet to generate signatures on the Bitcoin network, on the ETH network, Solana network, any network. And so, as far as capabilities are concerned, even to this day, ICP is the only network capable of doing those things.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I always actually mention interoperability as one of the main strengths of ICP. So, based on your experience today, how important is interoperability for the success of a Web3 application?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. There's um there's this thesis called the Fat Wallet Thesis. I'm not sure if you're aware, uh, but it basically posits that there are three layers in Web3. There's the network layer, application layer, and wallet layer. And basically, the thesis goes that value will accrue in the wallet layer. And the reason is because what we're seeing now historically is when new networks come out, they end up sucking some of the liquidity out of the ecosystem. So as a network, it's actually difficult to keep users. Users want faster and cheaper. And some of them stayed loyal to the network, but actually what we're seeing is diminishing loyalty. So as new L2s come around for Ethereum, people kind of their loyalty diminishes, and they go to cheaper, faster chains. Solana, good example. And uh, and so it's hard to keep user loyalty in the network layer. So you go to the application layer. Is it easier to keep loyalty there? Actually, no. So there are these vampire attacks that we often see. Yeah. So like an NFT marketplace or whatever, some DEX will say, "Great, we know you've done activity on this competitive application. Well, we'll give you tokens just to use our application instead." And they sort of suck the loyalty right out of the other DEX or other application and bring it to there. So it's hard to keep loyalty on the application layer. But MetaMask is a good case study we're seeing of people keeping loyalty very strong on the wallet layer. So no matter if the interoperability exists on the network layer or application layer, even though applications find the need to be more interoperable, to be multi-chain, just to be more competitive, it's still hard to keep users. Loyalty is strongest in the wallet. And so from my perspective, yes, interoperability is extremely important because users don't really seem to care very much about where these things exist, and it will just end up being that some networks are stronger than others at particular things. So we need to just make it very easy for users to use the strengths of other networks without the friction, and that all happens in the wallet.
Okay. And it actually seems like your users are appreciating like all the features of your wallet and its interoperability features as well. Because I was reading you have around like 200K active users already, which is great. So would you like to tell us a bit about the traction you're getting and what's the response from the users?
Yeah, sure. So the response has been overwhelmingly positive. We get we get two we get a few different responses. The first is people had no idea that they're even using a wallet. That's the first one, and actually, that's the most difficult response because we just don't know how to like re-engage them. It's almost like if they don't know that they're using a wallet to interact with an application, how are they going to know that all these other applications exist on the network? Because um, we don't want a user coming in and trying the ICP network through one application and then deciding that they don't like that application, therefore they're done with ICP. We want them exploring the rest of the ecosystem through the wallet. So it's hard to re-engage them when it's been for them. It was so easy to use the application that they didn't even realize they're using a wallet. So um, that's like a double-edged sword right there. Then there are people who know they're using a wallet and are very impressed with how easy it was to create, and that's been overwhelmingly positive. And then there are users who take issue with the fact that you can sign in with email. That's kind of where they get stuck with the UX of our wallet. Usually, they don't know that you can use a passkey instead and bypass email altogether, or they don't recognize that email is SMTP. It's actually an open protocol. So if you can create your own email server, obviously it takes more effort, but you can do that yourself and without any kind of centralized provider. Um, so that's more of a narrative marketing issue. But overall, the majority of our users are very happy to be using the wallet. Those that know about it and are supportive of continued evolution have participated in the token sale that's currently ongoing, and look forward to more feature enhancements.
That's great. Thank you, Dan. And maybe would you like to give us a quick preview of your wallet for the users who don't know it yet?
Yes, we'd be happy to. Uh, Starting to share. Let me know when my screen shows up.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are on the website. This whole website is being served from a smart contract deployed to ICP. So it's accessible through this URL, but also others. And I won't scroll through the whole thing. You can just go to wallet. This appears because I have already connected with this wallet, this email address. If I wanted to use a different wallet, I can continue with email. I can continue with Google. We're also adding the ability to uh, create with just a password. But in any case, I'll skip the registration part and I'll just continue with a passkey. And that's what this is. So when I click on this button, now I'm not sure if you can see the modal. Use Touch ID to sign in. Probably you don't, right?
I'm just seeing it's loading.
Yeah. So it's like the computer operating system prompt. It's asking if I want to use Touch ID to sign in. I'll be signed into NFID.1 with my passkey for this wallet. And so I'll just use Touch ID on my computer, and now it's authenticating me. So that is phishing resistant. I That passkey will simply not work if I'm trying to authenticate to a different URL, and it is connected to my biometric. So my wallet is secured, even if anyone tries to hack my email address. They'll be unsuccessful because they need my biometric to actually authenticate me, which is just incredible security. So some of the things that you'll notice are the same. Some of the things you'll notice are different. Portfolio balance, token balance, USD balance, all these tokens, NFTs, activity, all of that is pretty much standard uh, across wallets. They're basically commodity products. Every wallet can be you can use whatever you want. But the main difference here is that when you swap, let's say I want to swap um, one ICP for some CKBTC, I can actually, well, you'll see all the different swap parameters and which provider will get me the most tokens. But the fee here goes to the NFID wallet DAO. So there is a small fee. So if we take a look, there is the widget fee of this much ICP that's taken deducted from the trade, and this um, will go to the NFID wallet DAO. That is a multisig wallet right now that will be DAO controlled, and you can inspect for yourself all the trades that went into it, all the fees. There are about $90,000 of swap volume that's been processed through this widget, and that DAO stakeholders will be um, governing. The other difference is, since this is a cloud wallet, there are some things like signing in that are much easier, but also management. So if I manage tokens, we all know we have to import a token, and sometimes if it doesn't exist in like the default list, I'll just need to import it, and every user will need to import it. What's different with NFID Wallet is we built a decentralized registry of tokens. So as soon as one user imports a token, it's available in this list for all users. So this is the registry name here. Chain Fusion is a token that is basically a bridge token from another network. SNS is a token that's gone through this particular launch pad. And then there's community. And these are all tokens that one NFID wallet user has added to NFID wallet that is now available for everyone else. And stakeholders of NFID wallet will be able to vote and change this community registry, move this token, let's say, to the trusted registry or spam registry. So users will know what has been marked as spam by the DAO, and other developers across the ecosystem will also be able to use this decentralized registry for their own applications to designate that the NFID wallet DAO has indicated something as spam, or has indicated something as a community token or a trusted token. Uh, Another thing that's missing in other ICP wallets is the ability to scan for tokens. So this is now just looking for tokens with non-zero balances, and it'll either tell me, yes, someone airdropped using tokens. In this case, no such luck. But everything else is basically the same.
Okay, Dan, and you were mentioning the token sales. So would you like to tell us more details about your token and how to buy it?
Yeah. So right now the sale's ongoing through ICP's launchpad. It's called the SNS. So maybe we can drop the link in the description, nns.ic0.app. Just sign in there, deposit ICP, and swap your commitment. Um, Already, I think there's about 12 or 13,000 ICP committed, and another 9 or 10 days left in the sale. So not sure when you post this, but that's like February 9 or so, the end. We're looking to raise a minimum of 100,000 ICP for 20% of all tokens. The great thing about this launch pad is that it's fair sale, and it is, or fair launch rather, which is enforced by the protocol itself. So we could not have begun the sale uh, by allocating more tokens to ourselves as developers. So the combination of investors and developers uh, allocation must be less than or equal to the allocation to the community, which we don't see in other networks and other launches. So our investors get 10%. That's Polychain, Tomahawk, Outliers, Spaceship DAO, Blockchain Founders Fund, and a handful of others. We get 10%, and the community gets 20%, with the rest either in an airdrop or in the treasury. The other thing is we are legally we have a vesting schedule. So none of the investors, none of the developers can sell any tokens for at least a year, and all of it vests over the course of 3 years. And lastly, even developers cannot sell their stake, any amount of it, until either it's vested or investors get their money back. So they've invested $4 million. Their token value has to reach at least $4 million before we're able to sell any of our tokens. All of that is to say, users are extremely well protected from any kind of rugs. Like it's not possible. So we're really happy about that as well. It maintains alignment between us, investors, and the community in a way that we don't see normally in Web3.
Right, that's fundamental. That's also why many times, we saw like rug bulls and bad projects just launching and disappearing, and we need practices that avoid this kind of behaviors. And Dan, since you are working on Web3, I want to ask you, what do you think are the main challenges of Web3 today, for Web3 today, in order for it to achieve mass adoption?
Yes, that's a great question. Um, I think we don't have we don't have enough solutions for problems that exist. So we have like Web3 right now is more of a toy than it is a real solution to a lot of people's problems. And we can talk about unbanked people, and we can talk about uh, uh, like Bitcoin, let's say, as a reserve asset globally for sovereign nations. Uh, but in theory, Web3 can be so much more, and we just don't know what that is yet. Like even a decentralized credit score is not something that we can really action on at the moment. There are teams working on it and have been working on it for a long time, but that's not like widely available yet. So as far as adoption, I think here in the U.S., for example, I'll talk to a lot of people who are maybe interested in Web3, don't know very much about it, and they ask, "Well, like, what's in it for me? What can I do? Aren't all these just stupid meme coins that people try to pump and make money on?" What do you say to them? They don't have a lot of issues. They trust their governments, they trust their nations, they trust their banks, for better or worse, but mostly for better. Like there's not that much of a problem. People don't get money taken away from them like they do in other countries. So I still think the biggest barrier to adoption is not solving problems that more people have on a day-to-day basis. And that's kind of where we're at within the industry. I talk to a lot of developers and they tell me what they're working on. And my first thought is that's really cool. But who has this problem? And that's just a part of innovation is people say innovation is always a toy until it's actually really useful. Just the same way the internet was a toy until it was used to power global economies. So uh, we're still, I think, at that point where it's a toy for a lot of people. Maybe it's not that can't trust their governments, can't trust their banks. But as far as global adoption, more widespread adoption, we need to get out of the phase where Web3 is just a toy and it's more useful for more people. And that means just continue to innovate, continue to explore the boundaries of what Web3 actually is, because it's still, hard to define and constantly evolving. So we just need more innovation, more applications.
Okay, so we need to build more and we need to build more applications which are customer centered. So applications which are built around the people's problem, basically. So then people then they can recognize there's a solution for them in Web3 and start using it. Like people
Yeah.
started using Bitcoin at the beginning. I remember when I started using Bitcoin, it's because I understood it could save me from inflation. It could make my purchase power increase over time. And then people started using Ethereum for smart contracts, for launching their own decentralized projects. And then also then we have meme coins, and then they got trendy and people get confused. But I think then in the end, only great innovations will survive. And then Web3 is gonna finally reach mass adoption. And Dan, so what's your roadmap from here going forward?
Oh, there's plenty. Of course, we want to be network agnostic. So there's some amount of work to do there. And we would really love to be the Apple Pay of Web3, where it doesn't matter what application you connect with. If the application wants to get denominated and paid in ETH, you connect with whatever assets you have, and in the background, it automatically gets bridged, swapped, and paid without you needing to do each of those actions yourself. So just removing the friction of any kind of digital payment is on the roadmap. And there are people who want different clients. So right now we're a website because ICP natively serves websites from smart contracts, um, and but they want a mobile application and they want a browser extension. So those are off-chain packages that people would need to install locally. Uh, that needs to get built, and otherwise, all the backend stuff is reused. So you're still interacting with the NFID wallet contracts. That's on the roadmap. We can pause there, but like really everything to do with giving people a reason to use NFID wallet so that they have a reason to swap within it, so that share stakeholders uh, have more swap revenue to govern and to allocate in the way that stakeholders decide.
Great. So as we said before, building a product that solves real world problems and for the users. So a customer centric approach for developing your product. That's great. That's how it should be. And is there anything else you want to add, Dan?
I wish people take a look at this product, participate in the DAO. That's really exciting. The other thing I want to keep encouraging developers out there to continue innovating. There's a lot of really interesting stuff, even if they're toys, even if they're for built for speculators, like even the Rune marketplace. I mean, it's just awesome. It's amazing to have developers building and innovating. Keep doing it. It's desperately needed, and I applaud everyone and thanks everyone for contributing to the ecosystem, including yourself.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Thanks a lot for the interview. And I wish you good luck because your project is really ambitious and you're building something very great. And yeah, so I will leave the link to your website in the description. I will leave the link to the token sale. I will leave the link to your social media. And yeah, I think that's all for today. So guys, thanks for watching. If you want more content like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next episode.